It's 11:42. I'd like to call the Legislative and Governmental Affairs Committee to order. Could we get a roll call, please, Michelle?
Sure. Chair Desart.
Here.
Member Chaplin. Here. Member LaPlante.
Here.
Member Underwood.
She's here.
Right there. Member Selman.
She's coming.
Okay. And Member Zay.
Here.
All right, thank you. I'd like to make the motion to approve the minutes of the
So
Legislative and Governmental Affairs. Well, I'm making the motion. Are you seconding?
Oh, second, sorry.
Of the regular meeting, Tuesday, March 8th, 2022. The motion is made by me, the second is made by Member Chaplin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Me, I would just like to make one tiny little
Oh, sure.
correction. It says that I was absent, but I had to have a conversation in the hall. Oh, no, there it is, present. Okay, good. Perfect. Just want to make sure. I had to be late. We had to have a conversation about security.
All right, make sure it's reflected. Thank you.
I'm waiting for my right.
So, do you have any public comments? Okay, thank you. Now, for chairman's remarks, I want to make sure we have a quorum to vote on this action item. And I know that Member Chaplin has to leave shortly, but just for chairman's remarks, I would like to say, you heard what I all said during my legislative update in the county boardroom about being around guns all my life, but my dad and my brothers always kept the guns locked up in a safe. We didn't even know where the keys were as kids. And what this legislation does, this House Bill 4729, is that it's a public awareness campaign for safe gun storage. And for 2 years, it's a 2-year campaign. And I can get behind that. I really like it. But I also want to put out for you something we cannot vote on today because it wasn't on the agenda. Oh, I thought you were in court.
Thank you. Yes, I had an emergency hearing that I thought was going to be a little later than it ended
Yeah.
up being. I was able to get it done. So
Good,
you're free
good.
now.
Awesome, thank you. So anyway, my comment is this: what we're supporting today or not supporting, it's up to you. But this HB 4729 is a public awareness campaign for 2 years on safe gun storage. What I would love for this committee to embrace, this has no teeth. It's just a public awareness campaign. What I would like us to consider, and we're not going to meet again until the end of April. Maybe by then, are you happy about that?
No, I just had,
You got a smile on
I
his
just had a
face.
reflex, that's all.
He's smiling.
Thank you, Lord. But what I'd like us to consider is Ethan's Law, which is a federal level HR 748, and that does have teeth. That would require guns to be locked up in homes occupied by children 18 and younger. And Ethan's Law is named after a young man named Ethan Song. And Ethan Song, one day in January of 2018, went and got his braces off, and then later came home, had lunch, went across the street to his friend's house, and his friend's parents had a gun, unsecured gun, and he accidentally shot himself and killed himself. And his mom found out when she saw all these emergency vehicles racing down her street, and she was like, what the heck is going on? Never thinking it was her kid who was, they were rushing to. They went into Ethan's friend's house, and he was dead on the scene. And so that is what Ethan's Law is named after, and it has more teeth. And the parents of the boy the parents of Ethan's friend who owned the gun could not be prosecuted because theoretically Ethan shot himself by accident because the gun was unsecured. But Ethan's Law would actually put teeth and allow the gun owners to be prosecuted. Anyway, that's something on the horizon that I'd like to look at a future meeting. All right, in the meantime, action items. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move to approve the action item support of House Bill 4729, safe gun storage. Then after I get a second, which I just did from Member Chaplin, we can discuss. So I made the motion. We have a second from Member Chaplin. Discussion.
Well, we talk a lot. But we talk a lot about public safety, right? So to me, public safety is more than our sheriff, right? We have public safety with our transportation, having safe roads and passage like that. Also, this, I believe, falls under, public safety. I just thought it was it was brought to my attention to a constituent, and I thought it was a good bill to put on His member Desart mentioned it is a two-year campaign. I believe the campaign also touches on mental health issues. I think it's just a good bill, you know, to get the word out. It doesn't force anybody to do anything. It's just funding a campaign saying, hey, if you have a gun, store it. Those are my comments.
Members A.
Yeah, I mean, I love Member Chaplin's enthusiasm, and we've seen many bills over the years, but again, what role does county government do in gun safety? I mean, it's really not our purview. I mean, if we want to talk about it, I mean, I have tons of bills that I could bring forward every week, every 2 weeks and say, you know, enhance sentencing for offenses, fund the police act. You know, Senator Resin's bill on LaSalle VA home to protect our veterans, you know, juvenile hijacking, you know, bills, you know, reduce motor fuel tax, you know, DCFS investigator pepper spray. These are all good concepts, right? Sound great, right? Well, they're all being held up in Springfield. They're not moving forward. So again, we continue to do these feel-good things, which they are. I mean, I agree with it. People should, I don't own a gun. And you know what? People who do should store it properly. But again, we keep bringing up these topics that really aren't in the view of the county. I mean, they're feel-good, they're great concepts, they're great bills. But I've been told that this bill is not going to get out of the Senate. I mean, Cheryl, have you heard on this bill? What's going on?
So far it hasn't moved, so there's a week left, so it hasn't moved, but it did pass the House, but yeah.
I did have a question on the bill. I was wondering how much this two-year public order campaign cost, because I didn't see it in the actual bill itself.
There wasn't a fiscal note filed, so I don't know.
And who's going to do the campaign?
Illinois Department of Public Health. Health Department.
Illinois Department of Public Health. I mean,
Okay,
okay, wouldn't state police maybe be better on doing that? Somebody else that actually deals with guns? I mean, I don't know what the Illinois Department of Public Health's role with guns are, but I would think the state police would be the one to lead that and to do a campaign, because, you know, most of the gun, Ford's cards, everything else goes through state police.
Yeah.
So now we're asking Illinois Department of Public Health, which kind of has their hands full right now, to get into the gun business and talk about gun safety. I mean, it just, again,
If you'd like me to add on to that conversation, I certainly can.
welcome in Dave Sullivan, I'm sorry, Dave Sullivan, who is one of our Springfield lobbyists. Hi, Dave.
Hello, how's everybody doing?
Thank you.
Good. On that bill, it is still in the Senate Assignments Committee. So even though it did pass out of the House with a decent roll call of 79 yes votes, I would agree that it's probably not moving out of the Senate this spring. Doesn't mean it can't come back in the veto session, but you know, as we've discussed before, and certainly seems to be the case, both the House and particularly the Senate are not very interested in doing very many controversial things before April 8th.
Why
And
would,
this is as a gun issue, this is probably one of the least controversial, but anytime you say guns, people get worried.
questions? Yes.
Oh, just as a policy matter, I like things bubbling up from this committee and going on. I mean, when I take a look at who has supported this, these are largely my reps and state senators. So I feel like that, you know, it's fine for us to be involved in this. And Jim, if you want to bring some things forward, I'm happy to listen and, you know, and have an opinion there too. I want to say, I think this is a great thing to bring up. This is actually Moms Man Action Advocacy Week. That's why I'm wearing red. Because I do support, you know, volunteers, survivors, leaders. I think many of us have been involved in Moms Fan Action over the years to help prevent and end gun violence. So I'm supportive of this. You know, this is.
Well, as chairwoman of this committee, I have tried to, Member Selman, Member Chaplin, Member Schwarzy, every time any board member, not just on this committee, has asked me to bring something to this committee, I have brought it to this committee. I've never said no to anyone. So that's why we're talking about it today.
maybe it's a lesson.
And you know,
Say no.
and you know, and it does incorporate buyback opportunities in partnership with the state law enforcement. So I think it might be a combination of the health department working with that, but you know, we've had a lot of suicides among our teens with the pandemic, and it focuses on suicide prevention. You know, I mean, if you have your gun locked up in your house, it's a lot less likely that your kid's going to get it and use it on themselves. So that's all. I mean, like I said, it was brought for, a constituent asked me, you know, if we could talk about it, and I asked Member Desart. So that's why I brought it forward. And I do think it's a good campaign, but if we want to pull it, it's up to
Well, you
us.
know what? There's a motion and a second. I would like to take a vote, and then I know that you have to leave, hold on, and I know you have to leave, so I would like to talk with Dave Sullivan about the other issues that I brought up during county board. So before we take the vote, members A?
Yeah, Dave, with us supporting this, would this sway this bill of moving anywhere?
At this point in time, I think it is stuck in the assignments committee for the spring.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Dave.
Okay, can we take a roll call since we already have a, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure we're really, really clear what we are then voting to do, since this is not going to be moving out of committee. Then what are we doing by voicing our,
I think voting to support it, so during the next session, our lobbyists would support it.
is that how you see it working, Dave? Like, I just would love a little clarity to make sure that we're all on the same page and we have the same end goal in mind, because this sort of seems like we're voting on something that isn't actually even moving anywhere right now. And it does seem, to Member Zay's point, like a little bit like we're putting the cart before the horse. But if you can
Sure.
speak to that or tell us if that's the way to do things that you recommend, I'd love to hear it.
Yep. Honestly, you can choose several paths on this one. You could vote today to want to support this. As we've discussed, it's not going to move yet this spring, or you could delay and take it up anytime over the next few months when they come back for veto session after the November elections. This could be taken up then, or if it's not then, it's certainly a safe guess that it'll be taken up in the next General Assembly. So you can either do it today or in the future. I defer to you. Either way is acceptable in my mind.
Thank you.
All right, Member Selman.
Thank you. So it was mentioned earlier that there's no appropriation along with this. Has there been any discussion, especially if this were to move to the veto session, that there would be funding? I think I share Member Zay's concern, giving the unfunded mandate to IDPH after 2+ years of COVID seems rude. So I'd be hard to support.
There certainly have been discussions, but since the bill is not law yet, I don't know if those discussions have been, tremendously substantive yet, but it would be something that would need to be fought for to be appropriated. So it's not in the budget currently.
Well, if we vote in favor of this, it'll be on Cheryl's agenda or on her radar for the veto session after November or the spring session next year. It'll at least be on our radar, and it could be a whole new legislative committee by then. So after the election, let's go with Member Chaplin first.
Yeah, I just want, our legislative agenda and these bills that we throw our support behind or oppose, I think it sends a message, right, to our lawmakers and our constituents that we've heard from you, and we know these are important issues that you want addressed. So I think it's a great tool, whether it comes out of committee or not. It's a great tool for us to use, telling our representatives that, we've heard from, at least I've heard from at least one constituent on this, and I know it's, as Julie, Member Wren had said, Moms in Action are big supporters of this, that it's something that our people, would like us to support. So whether it comes out of committee or not, this year, I think it's sending a strong message that this is something that we want to see done for DuPage County. That's all. That's what I'm going to.
Cheryl, I was just gonna add, it could come up in veto session, but for 2023, there'll be a brand new General Assembly sworn in, so the bill start over, House Bill 1, Senate Bill 1. So this particular bill, if it doesn't pass a veto, will be dead. It would have to be introduced as part of a new package in January with the new General Assembly.
Okay, I'd like to move on to our other conversations. So why don't we go take a roll call vote on this particular one?
Okay.
This is to support SB 4729.
Okay. Chair Dessart,
Yes.
Member Chaplin.
Yes.
Member LaPlante,
Sure, yes.
Member Anahan,
Aye.
Member Salmon,
No.
and Member Zay.
Okay, that passes. Thank you very much. Now let's move on to our discussion. And if you're,
I'm on to
all right,
it too, I'm sorry.
thank you.
Liz and I have a
Bye.
date. We got lunch.
Yeah.
All right, we're not going to meet again until April.
Sorry.
Come on, Liz.
The end of April. Farewell. All right, so Dave Sullivan, one of our Springfield lobbyists is here. Dave, we've already previewed that you're gonna be talking about the gas tax. Will the general, oh, I'm sorry.
You have to bring Sheila in to maintain the quorum.
Oh,
I'm only an observer.
We need you for a quorum.
Oh, okay.
so how do I do that? I'd like to make a motion to make Sheila a part of the group, so we have a quorum. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
can do that.
Welcome, Sheila.
Thank you.
Okay, so, Dave, you know what we want to talk about, this, the
Sure.
gas tax, HB 5690, Medicaid funding for nursing homes, the LGDF, the Safety Act trailer bills. So thank you, take it away.
Yeah, all right, great. Yeah, Cheryl was nice enough to give me a list of things that you'd like to address. So I thought I'd run through them quickly and then we can talk about whichever one or all of them that you'd like. So on the LGDF, as you may know, all the mayors are coming down to Springfield tomorrow and Thursday. And they are meeting, as from the IML to the different COGs, including your colleagues as DuPage mayors and managers, privately with the governor and with all four leaders and with as many legislators as they can get a hold of. And as you would expect, no question, LGDF will be the top item on their agenda. So it'll be, I think we'll have a better feel by the end of this week on how we're doing on this topic. Right now, I would say, are we going to get to 8%? I don't think we're going to get to 8%, but I'm very hopeful that we're going to tick this up from the 6.06% it's at now. And I'd remind you, I've talked to other local officials that my perspective on this as a former senator is that once Springfield takes money from you, the narrative has reversed. So they view it as their money now. So it's no longer your money. So now you're asking for your money back from them, which they now view as their money, which complicates the conversation. And that is the perspective we are certainly running in with some legislators. We certainly have a lot of legislative support on this. We are fighting the fight and we will continue to fight this fight. There is some strong pushback, but there is also a lot of strong momentum forward. On the gas tax, sure, yep.
Not everybody knows this. The LGDF is what we're talking about, which is the Local Governmental Distributive Fund. It was established back in 1969 as part of the newly then created state income tax. So prior to 1969, there wasn't a state income tax. In 1969, there was. Counties and municipalities were not allowed to have their own income tax, right? So, but the state said, here, we'll give you, I believe it was 10% of the state income tax.
Correct.
And then the state has rolled back and rolled back and rolled back. So now counties and municipalities only get 6.06% the state income tax. And we're not asking for the full 10% again, we're just asking for up to 8%. So
that is correct. Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yep, absolutely. That was a very good description of the history on that. So on the gas tax, as you can imagine, our friends in the trades unions are fighting back vociferously, and they are in serious negotiations with the governor's office and with the legislative leaders on some other mechanism. As you can imagine, as we all know, we've seen on pension issues, and we just know in our own savings programs, if you take out a growth item right now, you are definitely hindering future growth. And so that's the point that's being made. They're trying to move this over towards maybe the sales tax on gas, which goes to the general revenue fund, which is, then a hit on the general revenue fund. Well, we've also heard that the state is saying they have plenty of money right now. So those negotiations are continuing. I think there's going to be some modification to what the governor initially proposed, but lots of conversations on the gas tax. On House Bill 5690, which is the hotel motel grant bill, that bill, it's a House bill that's still in the House Rules Committee, which is not a good sign for the bill's future. The one place that we might see this language or some version of an appropriation there reappear would be in the BIMP bill, which isn't even in poli-sci 300 levels. You've all heard of the BIMP, I'm sure, but so you have the budget bill, and then the BIMP, which is the budget implementation bill. So the budget is just the numbers. The BIMP is, you know, a description of what's going on with all those numbers, plus a few other nuggets that just happen to wind up in the BIMP. This is one, I'm not betting on it being in the BIMP yet, but if that does have any life to it, it would appear there. Medicaid funding obviously is, you know, an issue every year and will be forever. It certainly is now. The COVID has certainly given us all kinds of new sores to look at. You certainly know that in the county health system. So there are serious conversations going on with Medicaid funding, particularly nursing homes. In last year, it didn't work so well, but in many years leading up to it, and then again this year, and I think this is a good thing. There's this Medicaid working group that is working again better this year, which I think is a good thing. It is bipartisan, bicameral. And when I loved it when groups were working together like this. I mean, we all know there's supermajority Democrat in both chambers, but on the Medicaid topic, similar to the unemployment insurance, they really try to get, you know, both chambers and both parties in as close to agreement as they can on things. And so you see a lot of nearly unanimous roll calls on Medicaid issues the last few years, in large part because they do a lot of the hard work with the key members in all four caucuses working and the governor's offices in these meetings, working diligently and really taking the deep dive. I mean, we all know Medicaid is a very complicated topic. You can't just say, oh, well, give them this or take away that. It's literally not that easy. So this nursing home topic and Medicaid funding in general, we'll have a better feel for in the next 10 days. But I'm heartened by the fact that this Medicaid working group is really at full steam, and they're doing a great job again. The Safety Act trailer bills, and particularly the retail theft. I've had some conversations with the Illinois Retail Merchants Association. As you would guess, this has not been a top topic for them in the existence of their organization, but as you would also guess, it is a very hot topic for them right now. So they're new to this topic. And to be honest, they sound a little frustrated with not your state's attorney, but the state's attorney just to the east of you, in trying to figure out how to deal with this. You know, I don't know that anyone is really thinking, well, we really should just, you know, throw people in jail and just leave them there, like this happened decades ago. That's obviously not a good policy program. So where to find that balance? They're working on it. The Attorney General, you know, Kwame has been very engaged in this in his whole office. So I do expect to see something, you know, whether it's a trailer bill, particularly for the Safety Act, or something to do with police retention. You know, as you certainly know from your sheriff's office and from your local police departments, there are problems there on police retention. Plus on this retail theft, a lot of work is going into how to get some progress on that. The Safety Act, you know, a big trailer bill, honestly, might wait until veto session, because that next big deadline of enactment is January 1st. And, you know, I say this as a recovering politician. Politicians sometimes prefer to wait until after an election to take on a topic like that. So I wouldn't be shocked to see a more broad Safety Act trailer bill discussion, most of that being put off to the veto session. But I do think something, you know, politically and policy-wise will happen in the next 2 weeks here in Springfield. Any questions on any of those or any other topics?
Thanks, Dave. Any questions from the committee? Okay, I do have a question. Dave, the price of a barrel of gas has gone down, but consumers are not seeing that price drop at the pump. I would imagine, I hate the politics of politics, but as you are a recovering politician, I would imagine because it is an election year and the politicians in Springfield want to make people happy, that they will reduce the sales tax on gas or do something about price gouging when it comes to gasoline. I mean, I drive a piece of you know what, and I'm filling it out for $42 now, and a year ago it cost 23. So I can't imagine driving, you know, real cars,
Yeah.
and SUVs.
I do think the politics is, you know, is certainly, you know, super hot on that. Maybe not as hot as it was a week ago, but it's still, you know, pretty heated. And I've never understood how those, you know, prices jump up tomorrow, but they don't come back down, you know, for a week or so. It's, when I was in the Senate, I used to, when there was a big spike back then, I remember going to the local gas stations. I went to several of them, and I talked to the owners and tried to figure out, you know, what is going on. People are not happy about this, and prices are way higher now. There's no question people are not happy. And as we all know, well, being in and around politics, the politicians, especially leading up to an election, are going to want to do something. Now, you know, and the problem with the way the governor proposed it, it was going to be that the public would not see the proposed increase, which, as we all know, does not mean there would be a decrease, just they wouldn't see the proposed increase. I'm not sure politically that was really going to be much help, which I think is why some people are trying to steer that conversation over to the sales tax. Whereas if you reduce that sales tax, you are reducing a current amount. And, you know, this, as we all know, the sales tax is a percentage. So if I'm making 6.25% on $1 as opposed to $4, I'm getting a lot more revenue than I anticipated. So I think that there's an easier argument to make this a financial argument, policy argument, and our neighbors can actually see something. Now, you know, it's going to be a few cents, but at least they can go home and say, we did X.
Right. Okay, last chance questions. All right, Dave, thank you so much. We've lost our quorum, so we're going to have to end this meeting pretty quickly, but
There you go. Okay. Have a great day.
I would
Thank
love
you.
to talk to you again after the veto session, or after the spring session, to kind of let us know everything that happened.
We look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, we have lost our quorum. So let me just ask real quick, can I ask about old business or new business?
Yeah, you can. The Quorum is required to complete any action item.
Okay, good. We already did that.
Yeah.
Any old business? Any new business?
Oh.
What?
Yeah,
Yes.
new business.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so Janelle Chadwick from the Care Center had brought up to me as an issue, and I think I had forwarded to you, and Cheryl was in on that too, talking about funding of nursing homes. And so
Yes.
Cheryl had suggested, and I think it's a great idea, in HHS, we have some kind of discussion to kind of educate our members about how some of that funding flows, because as you know, he said today, it's complicated.
Right.
So
can we do that in HHS then?
we can, probably looking at maybe this summer.
Yeah, because the county gets an enhanced rate. There's only 19 county nursing homes left in the state. There used to be about 24, but some of the collars have sold theirs because the subsidy that you all have to provide anywhere from 2 to 3 million a year. But we worked really hard about 10 years ago to fight for that county enhanced rate, but every year it's kind of in jeopardy as the number of county nursing homes goes away. So it's a really complicated process, but I think it's good to have that conversation so that when Dave, like our lobbies need to hear this conversation because they weren't here when we got this enhanced rate. And so they understand the mechanics of it so that when they're lobbying, they see, because like you said, Medicaid, you take away here, you add here, and nursing homes in general, you know, need more funding. And so it's important, and they have a new finance person at Combo. So I think it would be a good conversation, but legislative members should attend if they can, because it's a topic you need to understand.
Right.
So there will be more.
Good.
And of course, the Safety Act, you know, from JPS perspective, we know that we're gonna see some substantial things, I think, coming down the line, probably not, I would think not till the fall, really.
I think the major one, I think he's absolutely right. Before the bail reform goes in January 1 and some of those other provisions, if they're gonna change it, they'll have a lot of lame duck legislators. November, because veto session's after the election, in an election year. It's not October. It'll be middle end of November. That's probably when they will. If they're gonna do something major, that's when they would do it.
One thing I want to correct is I think I said that the cost of a barrel of gas is down. I meant the cost of a barrel of oil is down, but gas prices aren't reflecting that. So if I
We translate.
misspoke, I'm sorry.
We're smart like that.
Smart like that. Any other new business? Okay, without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you so much.